If you want to make $100,000 and you're charging $500 per transaction, you only need to close. Welcome back to another episode of TC with Lily. I am Lily, like the flower. We are learning and growing together. First of all, welcome back. It's been a while. If you caught my lives, if you kept following me on Instagram, TikTok, at Transaction Care, I've been active there. Alongside doing my podcast, Transaction Care. I don't steer too far away from the name. I own it, so why not? But in today's episode, as you see from the title, I'm going to be talking about money. I did an episode on this a while back when I first started this channel, discussing how much a transaction coordinator can make. And I want to do a different approach with this concept today and to give you a full understanding of, okay, if my goal is to make X amount at the end of the year, how does that break down ultimately? So let's just jump straight into it because I'm ready to talk about it. So if you have any questions, hit the comments ASAP. I will be glad to answer them. I'm also going to be doing lives more frequently until I'm not. Stay tuned as well. Oh, have you joined my newsletter, my TC community? I send a weekly newsletter every week, sometimes twice, sometimes 3 times a week if I'm feeling it. But it's a lot of gems, a lot of information, discounts. I'm selling merch. Right now we have a t-shirt for sale. If you use the word care, you get 10% off at checkout. And it's Transaction Care on the front, rep the brand. And on the back, it says care for yourself, care for your wealth. And that's exactly what we're going to be doing today in this episode. So without further ado, if someone wants to make, say, $45,000 a year, whether they're being a TC, a transaction coordinator, part-time, full-time, as a side hustle, the goal is $45,000 per year. I'm not going to factor in taxes, gross, net, all of that. We're just going to stick to the number $45,000. So if you need to grab a pen, paper to understand this concept, or if you have questions along the way, jot them down, hit the comments, and I'll be glad to answer them either in the comment section or in future videos. So if a TC wants to make $45,000 a year and they're wondering, how do I do this? How do I achieve this? So there are a few factors that you can consider. The location, your experience, maybe the size of the company or the number of people you have on your roster and how frequently they close transactions. But let's just say, and as well as your price. So this is how it breaks down, right? If a transaction coordinator, their rate is $400 per single family residence from contract to close. And that's what they charge, a flat rate of $400. And I'm not including if there's an HOA, if there are multiple units, and whatever services you may charge along the way, like contract writing, which you can charge additional fees for, or whatever you decide, right? This is just flat, basic TC offering, basic TC services. So $400 per transaction. How many transactions are you going to need to close in order to hit that $45,000 mark? So the math should be fairly simple. And the way you calculate that is you take $45,000 and divide it by 400 and you get your number, which roughly ends up being around 112, 115 transactions per year in order to make $45,000. Now you're probably wondering, dang, that seems like a lot. Like, how do I do that? I'll talk about that in different videos in terms of how to network and market your business and things like that. I'm going to be starting a community, workshops, workbooks, things like that. So stay tuned. Go to transactioncare.com to join my email list because that's the only place where you will find out first when all of this stuff goes live. And I go way more in depth on these types of topics and how to get there, how to achieve this, and how I did it in the last 20 years and going. So let's just say you charge $400 and now you're like, okay, I have to do 112 transactions. So what is 112 divided by 12, right? So it's around 9 transactions per month.
11, not 9. My apologies.
Right? On average. And if you're working by yourself, I think most skilled and experienced transaction coordinators can handle anywhere up to, without any help, and this is assuring that you have your systems in place, however you design them, can manage in sales only, not including listings, anywhere from 20 to probably 50 transactions. I can't speak for every transaction coordinator. Everyone's time, everyone's lifestyles, availabilities, systems, organizational skills, communication skills, automation, everyone's lifestyle and the way they run their business is different. But if you can somehow manage to get at least 9 closings a month, or say, or you could double it and maybe have 18 closings the first 6 months of the year, then you'll hit your $45,000 mark, right? But let's just say your prices are a little higher and you want to charge $500. So naturally, you're going to lessen your load for a higher rate. So if I'm charging $500 per single family residence transaction, all of the basic TC services from contract to close, same process as I was doing with the $400. Now I only need to close around 90 transactions per year in order to hit that $45,000 mark. So if you are the type that's closing, so it says 7.5. So if you can close around 8 transactions a month, yeah. So if you can close anywhere from 7 to 9 transactions a month at either rate, $400 or $500, you're going to hit your mark consistently. And like I said, I'm going to go into how to get clients, things like that in future episodes, conversations, things like that. If you want a consultation, message me, we'll set it up and we can create some sort of plan financially to get that all in order and to get you up and running. So if you want to charge $500, it's a little less work, but you can still hit that mark and just charge a little bit extra, so you don't have to do as much throughout the day. But that's just depending on what your goals are. You want to bring in $100,000 in 2024. Let's just say you're going to start your career in 2024 as a transaction coordinator, and your goal is to make $100,000. So, and this is just doing transaction coordination. Like I said, this is not including if you charge to write contracts. If you have services where you write contracts on behalf of the agents, you're not negotiating them unless you choose to. You're writing contracts, you are offering maybe other side projects. Maybe you sell merch, maybe you sell workbooks, ebooks, courses. This is not counting any of that. But of course, if you want to lessen your load, you can add those items into your services and your fees and your products that you sell in order to reach this $100,000 mark. But I'm just talking about you are only doing transaction coordination for the year, and your goal is to hit $100,000 in gross income. All right, so if I'm charging, we'll do 2 examples again, $400 and $500 per transaction. So if I'm charging $400, I'm going to do $100,000 divided by 400. I would have to do 250 transactions throughout the year. And when you're running your business, a service-based business, especially one in real estate, as you know, transactions can range in closings anywhere from 7 days to 90 days, 120 days, maybe even longer. So you have to factor that in when you're calculating these. Like, it's not just because you get a contract today, it could close 30 days from today. So you have to change your mindset on how you calculate your money, and also don't spend your money before you get it, because transactions, they die, they fall out of escrow, they get canceled. This is all a part of the territory. But somewhere along the way, if all of the transactions you manage that year and close, and you manage to facilitate and help get them to close their escrow in a great way, in the right way, in a compliant, you're fully compliant, in compliance, you did your due diligence, you showed up, You're a great communicator. You're getting referrals. You're getting clients, which goes into how you gain clients, which I'll talk about in future episodes. But within a 365-day time span, if you can manage to close 250 transactions within a year at a $400 price point, then you will hit that $100,000 mark. So let's go to 500,000. I'm sorry. Who's to say you can't make $500,000 either, but you will need to hire staff and get to that point as well. But this is, again, if you choose to work solo and not hire help, not outsource, everything is done on your own. I just want you to understand the numbers and how this works. So if you want to make $100,000 and you're charging $500 per transaction, you only need to close 200 transactions throughout the year. What a big difference, right? Now, I will do a whole separate video or have a live on this topic as well, but knowing your worth is also knowing what to price, because even after a transaction closes, you're still responsible for managing it for at least 2 to 3 years minimum. And things happen, lawsuits happen, buyers just maybe lost their file and need a copy. You are a source for that to obtain every single piece of paper, document, reports that were a part of that transaction. It's your responsibility to hold on to that for at least 2 to 3 years for liability purposes. After that, you could probably shred it, toss it, delete it. Check with your state, check with your city, check with your brokerage on how long you need to keep a file after close of escrow. But just factor in that you would have to still pay for storage space, right? Cloud space. If you keep hard files, maybe an actual storage unit, whatever the case may be, those are a couple of reasons why your pricing should be not just competitive with the actual market, because you don't want to charge too low. I have a podcast episode with Shalonda, I think, I'll have to look it up. But Shalonda Moore gave a masterclass on pricing, and you don't want to charge too low because people may question the value and the quality of your business. But if you're doing it to stand out, it may not be the best business model or business plan or idea to do so. One, you want to, now I'm getting into it. You want to price according to the market. So if people in your city or area are charging $400 or maybe $300, go with that and add a little sauce to it. Maybe extra $25, extra $50. And like I said, this is just for a single family home. You can charge an additional $50 if there's an HOA, because now you're processing more paperwork. Or if you do provide contract writing services, another $50, $25, $100, whatever the case may be. So some transaction coordinators charge $1,000. So if I want to charge $1,000 per transaction, you're only going to have to close 100 transactions per year if you're charging $1,000. And that could just be for the standard TC services. Be about your paper. Be about your Skrilla scratch, all of that. But this is what I wanted to talk about today. It was on my heart. And go check out all of my previous videos. If you want to get in contact with me, head to transactioncare.com. Honestly, the best way to be in touch with me, at least on a weekly basis, is through my TC community, where you receive emails from me weekly, sometimes a couple times a week, depending on what's going on, if I'm promoting a product or an additional service, whatever the case may be, or going live. I like to give people a heads up at least, 2 days before, an hour before, to let them know, like, hey, come join me in the live. Transactioncare.com. Subscribe here. Don't forget, subscribe to this YouTube channel. Follow me on Instagram at Transaction Care. Most importantly, the podcast. Transaction Care, the podcast, is my baby. I love doing podcasting. I've embraced being a full-time podcaster, and I'm learning different ways to be a better interviewer, be a better host, to find ways to monetize my podcast, to grow my podcast and get more listeners and whatnot. But it's a work in progress, but I'm fully committed. So please check out Transaction Care, the Transaction Care podcast. It's available on all streaming platforms. Going to be on YouTube as well soon. but I wanted to focus on the audio experience first. But Apple Podcast, Spotify, whatever platforms you listen to, it's going to be on there. Just search the word transaction care. Even when you Google it, I'm the first thing that pops up. So I'm not hard to find on these here internet streets. But if you want to listen to me on the go and get inspired, I have some powerful interviews on this platform that currently I'm on episode 16. And I've already done at least 10 interviews. And they've been so just inspiring and motivating to me, as well as just giving them their flowers and a platform to share their story. Because everyone, I'm talking about money in this episode, but everyone only talks about, I made $100,000 this year. It was so easy. But they don't talk about the nights where I'm at home crying. I'm at home struggling, I'm overwhelmed. I have an abundance and an overflow, but I wasn't ready for it. And I squandered it all away and lost all my business 6 months later. So you could make $100,000 your first year, but it could be so dreadful and overwhelming. And that's actually what happened to me in my first year. I made a lot of money, but I was just like miserable, burnt out because I wasn't prepared. So the money part is, yes, to entice you, to get you, interested and curious. But keep in mind that it's still going to take hard work. There's a lot of nuanced steps into this, and it's important that you have the right mentor, the right coach. That's why I'm here, to give you as much free game as possible here on YouTube, as well as on my social medias. And eventually, we will have a private paid community for those that are very serious about doing this, where we can all collaborate, work together, share our stories, vent, just support each other and hold each other up through this whole process, because there will be times where we fail and things aren't as great as they used to be, or maybe you are no longer in love with real estate. You've fallen out of love, or you no longer have a passion for it. What do you do next? So it's building all of those skills to have the confidence to move on to whatever it is you want to do next or currently, and ways to elevate that and to expand and grow and work on other projects, right? So this is a long journey, but I'm here to be on it with you. And I'm grateful that I have this community and this audience that are willing to listen and to receive my help. And like I said, if you want to set up a consultation, message me and I'll send you the link. We can get it started. It does cost money, because time is money. And I want you to be aware of that, because I want you to value your time and put a price tag on it as well, and to not get walked all over. Not saying you guys are walking all over me with the free content. What I mean is that knowing your worth with pricing. That's a whole separate topic that I'll get into. But for now, this has been another episode of TC with Lily here on the YouTube platform. Find me on Instagram, TikTok, if it's still around. But for now, YouTube, Instagram, my podcast, and my website, newsletter, are the main ways to just stay in touch, to learn and grow and develop personally, business-wise, all of that. And I thank you for your time, your energy, and I wish you nothing but the best in your journey and what is to come, in whatever avenue you choose to work in. And just stay inspired. Remember, care for yourself, care for your wealth. Your time is worth it. Let's coordinate. You gotta coordinate. Talk soon.